So what I was going to say is that this poem was written right after the Columbine tragedy, So there are two things to bear in mind while you are hearing it. Number one, it was written several years ago. Number two, some of the wrongful bad things you'll hear in the poem have had these several years in which to become worse than they are actually presented in the poem. And I will say this, that right after, at the end of the poem, where a few words are said, there's 3 words right at the end that I will let you know about. And it really has to do with something. So anyway, I'm just going to go through it. There's, many of you probably have heard parts of this at times, but I've never said the whole thing at once. And I want to go through the whole thing because it does mean a lot. So here we go. Well, we're taking the prayer out of school. And why be so foolish as to teach abstinence to our teens? We're removing the nativities from our town squares. Now this clearly shows which way our nation leans. This nation is held together by God. Shall we be obedient and grow strong by His power? Or will we continue as we are, trying to leave Him behind? Then find the best we can do without Him is cower. It is printed on our money that in God we trust. But because our nation's leaders do not exemplify this to be, we must all the more appreciate the words in the song America. For in spite of the rebellious way she lives, God shed His grace on thee. Suicide is being committed by both the young and the old, and the rate keeps climbing in the fear of no hope. And with our justices making rulings as to the restraint of God's word, they just add to the problems of not being able to cope. We all know that we aren't killing unborn children. We're simply exercising what's known as freedom of choice. But if this choice had been exercised on those whose opinion that this is right, they wouldn't be here to have that opinion that they now voice. Some children may never know what true family life is, and they won't be normal in the eyes of their peers, for their peers will be talking about their fathers and their mothers, but they'll have 2 of the same, along with confusion and fears. Now we do have freedom of speech, and also the right to bear arms, but when words and bullets are directed by hate, why do we feign deafness to these many alarms? There are none so blind or so deaf as those who will not see or hear. But will those who choose to remain blind or deaf forever escape the shedding of a tear? Will they wait until tragedy hits one that they love and then cry out in complete frustration, I hope they get what's coming to them, those responsible for this senseless annihilation? So who do we blame for such things? Who is responsible that we're subjected to such fear? It's easy to point fingers at so many others, but first we should look in our mirror. Like, do we truly love our children by discipline? Or do we cover for them in various ways? Might we say, my child didn't mean to steal, and then defend them with the term, it's just a phase. So what have I done to alleviate crime? Are my children where I know they should be? Are they listening when I speak against filth in the movies, but later have to tell them that what I'm watching they should not see? Do I set a good example, or does hypocrisy reign? Am I unwittingly showing them the way to hell? Am I cheating and lying, thinking, oh, they don't know? But worse, not even caring, should they end up in a cell. Our jails are extremely overcrowded. But if we transferred that condition to our churches, oh, many problems in this nation would most surely dissipate, and additional jails we would not have to purchase. Some say violence on the screen is just reality, and so is the language that's used, except that most of what's on the screen came before the reality, which means the truth has been flagrantly abused. Now it follows that those who are young are viewing these atrocities as being the norm. So why the big surprise when their ears and their eyes fill their brain with a violent storm? When our young people think that what they watch is good on some of those garbage shows, who fed them the lie that if it doesn't hurt, oh, they can believe that anything goes? There is a term associated with computers, and of its truth there is not a doubt. Some may deny this, but argue they can't. For it states plainly, garbage in, garbage out. Many youngsters are being led astray by adults who were led before them. This plant of deceit has grown out of control. The time has come to cut off the stem. We might think that we are exempt, and nothing bad will ever happen to us if we don't make waves, and we mind our own business and do nothing to stir up a fuss. Shall we be like the frog in the pot? He just sat there until it was too late, never knowing that he was going to die, but his complacency determined his fate. End of poem. But be ashamed, not absolutely each and every one of us, but most, all of us, are either the evil succeeding or the good doing nothing about it. Now, this is not an immediate doomsday message, although it's getting quite close. And it most definitely is an alarm clock going off. Now, get it, or will it awaken you to recognize God's righteous anger? And after that was given, it was explained to me what that truly meant. And I can tell you very, very truthfully that those three words, God's righteous anger, have no meanness in them whatsoever. There's an explanation as to what they really cover. God bless.